Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking
categorically,
a question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can
No,
you
I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir. I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com. Extra shows, extra content, extra guests, extra analysis, archives to all of our shows. We have the free, the public side, tremendous amount of information there for you. But in particular, what puts you months, if not years ahead of the curve is the incredibly affordable premium service subscription content and email service. 30 cents a day puts you months, if not years, ahead of the curve. Today, I want to talk about the relationship between, just this wonderful humanitarian country of China and someone who can be considered as a China doll, the Bidens, in particular Joe. This is an issue that the bought-off, lamestream, fake media tentacle of the cult. By the way, the globalist cult, the globalist syndicate, the New World Order crowd, the Criminal International Banking Syndicate, the New World Order crowd, the deep state, the shadow government, all being the same entity, small group, several thousand psychopaths around the world that believe that, they are entitled to everything and you're entitled to nothing. They have a number of tentacles. One of which is the bought-off, lamestream, fake media. Another tentacle is all their political operations in every government, in every country. Their goal has been to create a laboratory of an entire country that they could create as based on a freedom-stripping totalitarian agenda. I'll give you one guess what that country is. Thank you very much, China. It's a technocracy. We have delved into this for many years with a regular guest in our platform, Pat Wood, who is probably the world's expert in technocracy, of which China is the prime example. That didn't happen by coincidence or accident. It was fully funded and made operational by the cult, the globalist cult. Well, they needed a way to subvert what was left of our country, our constitutional republic. And they've done it. They've given a really good try. Almost accomplished their goals and objectives. But, call me an optimist, but I don't think it's ultimately going to work out their way. Why? Because of people like you and me and people in independent media that are willing to put our lives on the line to educate and empower others. Because we got them number-wise, right? Just in our country. There are 320 million of us. It's a couple, maybe 1,000 of them. But their China doll is the Bidens. But not just the Bidens. From the very outset of my radio show in October of 2010, now coming up on 13 years, I've outlined that there's one political party. Got a lot of blowback initially on this. And then actually over the years, people have come back and said, geez, I really thought you were off and it was conspiracy theory when you were talking about the one political party, the Republicrats, and how they're all owned and operated and controlled and bribed and by this criminal syndicate. I really thought that was out there. But in fact, you were right. Well, of course, I saw it firsthand when I first went to Washington in '88 to work on healthcare policy as a consultant to the Reagan administration. And I saw it over the years. It didn't matter if it was Clinton there or old man Bush or W or forget it. Or Obama or Clinton. They're all owned. They're all controlled. They're all blackmailed. But this is how China is taking over our country. People will say, wow, we're worried about an invasion from the Chinese forces. No. Look at what the Art of War from Sun Tzu, right? You win the war before you go to the war. Yeah, that's what this is all about. And in fact, many decades ago, Teddy Roosevelt gave us a heads up. Political parties exist to secure responsible government to execute the will of the people. From these great staffs, both of the old parties have gained aside. In other words, they become criminal gangs. Instead of instruments to promote the general welfare, they have become the tools of corrupt interests, which use them in marshalling to serve their selfish purposes. And the latest entity to gain control of the Republicrats has been China. And then they create their China dolls. In other words, entities that will do whatever they tell them to do. Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people. Teddy was telling you about the deep state decades ago. The deep state that created China, the deep state that is now using that same blueprint that they used in China right here. Teddy Roosevelt goes on. To destroy this invisible government, to befoul the unholy alliance between corrupt business and corrupt politics, is the first task of statesmanship of the day. End quote. Before you can befoul the unholy alliance of corrupt business and corrupt politics, overseen by China, infiltrated by China, you have to identify your enemy, your adversary. Right? That's what the independent media has done. And if you're waiting for the bought-off lamestream fake media, a tentacle of the deep state, run by China, of which China is their little model, if you're waiting for the next election, if you're waiting for the military, if you're waiting, see, that's what they want. They want you to wait. They want you to sit on the couch. They want you to trust the plan and sit on the couch. Because when you sit on the couch and trust the plan that a white horse is going to come rolling in with somebody on its back that's a politician or the military or somebody in business, somebody like loves free speech, like Elon Musk, who still has thousands of us still blocked on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it today. They want you sitting uninvolved, as opposed to what Teddy Roosevelt suggested, that he characterizes the statesmanship of today, exposing them, calling them out, peacefully protesting. Because here's the good news about our enemy. They're cowards. They're cowards. And they're cockroaches. And when you expose them, they run. They don't want you to know that. It's like the Wizard of Oz, right? They were trying to tell you something with that movie decades ago. Behind the curtain, and there's this little guy. It's supposed to be this big, horrible. Yeah. I've always told you, it's whistleblowers that will bring it down, that will open the curtain, expose the little twerp pulling the levers, the little twerp being a cult. IRS whistleblowers testify against the Bidens. 2 IRS whistleblowers, Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, patriots, testified at the House Oversight Committee recently, where they described a, quote, an undeniable pattern of preferential treatment for the Biden family and obstruction of the normal investigative process when it comes to the multi-year investigation into Hunter Biden. From the thousands of financial records we've obtained, we know the Biden family set up over 20 shell companies, engaged in intentional, complicated financial transactions with foreign adversaries. isn't that one of the criterion for treason? And made a concerted effort to hide the payments and avoid scrutiny, said committee chairman James Comer. Joseph Ziegler, one of the IRS whistleblowers, identified that through the IRS, they found that money was paid to Hunter Biden associates from 2014 to 2019. From Romania, $3.1 million. From a Communist Chinese Party energy affiliate, CEFC, $3 million. Hudson West, associated again with the Communist Chinese Party through their energy conglomerate, CEFC, another $3.7 million. Burisma, that wonderful Ukrainian money laundering energy operation, $6.5 million. Total foreign income streams, $17 million. Now they've identified another, $20 million. That's the tip of the iceberg. You add it all up, it's going to add up into the hundreds of millions. And one more time, and I've been pushing on this on the subscription side of the platform for many months. Stop with the big guy being Joe Biden, okay? Stop it. That 10% to the big guy was going up the food chain. And part of that food chain was the big O. Yeah, Obama. If you think Biden was making policies as vice president Obama didn't know about, and Obama, being the financial pig that he is, that he wasn't going to get a cut of that action, come on. Look at how he ran his community organizing organization in Chicago. I have ties into Chicago. I grew up there. My parents were influential in the city, even though they were conservatives. Let me tell you something. That cat has been skimming money from the very get-go. And to these people that say, this money, maybe these guys, these guys, they have the receipts, so it's hard to deny it now. But it didn't influence any kind of policies. Biden Energy Secretary, what a joke that is, Jennifer Granholm, former governor of Michigan, doesn't even know how to, probably hasn't, as I said, I don't think she's pumped her own gas for 15 years in her own car, but she's Energy Secretary. What knowledge base does she have of the energy industry? Zero! Biden Energy Secretary secretly consulted top Chinese energy official before the Strategic Petroleum release. Before they even told Americans about it. So, money talks, huh? Yeah. Sales to Hunter Biden linked to the Chinese energy giant. Yeah, I just told you about. They got all that money laundered. Yeah. U.S. Energy Secretary, the Biden China dolls. U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, whose catastrophic handling, this from Zero Hedge, of the U.S. energy policy will be one of the most memorable and dire consequences of the Biden era, engaged in multiple conversations with the Chinese government's top energy official just days before the Biden administration announced it would tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to combat high gas prices. That would be the same China whose Hunter Biden-linked energy giant Unipec, which previously learned had bought millions of barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum release. Wait a minute. I thought the Strategic Petroleum Reserve was for the Americans. But not in this case, not when you got a China doll sitting there. From Zero Hedge, can you ring your dad? Joe Biden spoke directly to Hunter Biden's business partners dozens of times. Joe Biden, a serial liar, this from Zero Hedge, spoke with Hunter Biden's business associates via phone dozens of times while he was vice president of the United States. And you don't think Obama knew about this or Obama was part of this? Stop it. Cut the naive garbage. According to testimony from Devin Archer. But it's not just Archer saying this. Tony Bobulinski, remember, he had the guts to stand up to this stuff before the election in October 2020, of which everybody said, oh, no, can't believe that. Recalls Hunter offering to ring his dad during a meeting they had by the pool at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles. Quote, I am also aware of other Biden family business associates confirming that Joe would take phone calls from Hunter in the middle of business meetings and would weigh in via speakerphone. And some of those meetings were with China. And people in Chinese businesses with ties to the Communist Chinese Party. And then remember that goat rodeo of a plea deal, remember? Well, here's something that happened in that courtroom as the plea deal got pulled that nobody's talking about. Tom Azimek spoke about this. Hunter Biden admits receiving money from a CCP-linked company. Hunter Biden admitted in court during his failed plea deal hearing because the judge asked him. Imagine that. Finally, we got a judge that isn't bought and paid for or compromised or blackmailed, right? Okay. Hunter admitted in court when his plea deal was going south, when the judge said, by the way, did you get any money from China? He received over $500,000 from a company with links to the Chinese Communist Party, appearing to contradict Joe Biden's earlier claim that no one in the Biden family made any money from China. And then, lest you think that the China doll Biden, it's not just on energy issues. Biden administration helping the Communist Chinese Party by restricting domestic mining. This from a Minnesota senator. A Minnesota state senator says that the Biden administration's restrictive stance towards domestic mining projects is making the U.S. dependent on the Chinese Communist Party. Imagine my shock. Imagine your shock. From Andy Putzer and Sanjay Bhagat. Joe Biden's climate policies weaken the United States and strengthen who? One guess. You're right, China. Biden's commitment to end fossil fuels has been ineffective at reducing demand for oil, but very effective in both weakening the United States and empowering our primary global adversary, China. Assuming that a reduction in global carbon emissions is necessary to fight climate change, a disputed position, it nonetheless makes little sense environmentally, economically, or strategically to hobble the American fossil fuel sector, such as canceling pipelines, discouraging financing, restricting leases, and slow-walking permits, before sufficient sources of renewable energy with a proven capacity to meet global demand can be demonstrated. But it goes beyond energy. It goes beyond mining. China-linked biolab. How did this get there? China, you know how it got there. Money talks. China-linked biolab discovered in Fresno, California. Fresno County, California, had over 900 mice genetically engineered to catch and carry the COVID-19 virus. Shocking. An illegal biolab was discovered in a believed to be vacant building in Redley, California, in Fresno County. It was used to produce pregnancy tests and tests. They also found thousands of vials that contained unlabeled fluids. Oh, imagine what that little mixture was. Yeah. Court documents confirmed that Biden's CDC found potentially infectious agents at the location. These included both bacterial and viral agents, including chlamydia, E. coli, streptococcus pneumonia, hepatitis B and C, herpes 1 and 5, and rubella. The CDC also found samples of malaria. So when they are developing biolabs with viruses in them, how about this virus? China was using a flaw in Microsoft Cloud to hack on U.S. government officials. Just to make sure that they're towing the line, right? Hey, you know what? We own you. We're making sure, double checking to make sure you're actually doing what we're telling you to do. China was using a flaw in Microsoft Cloud to launch a cyber attack on U.S. government officials' email accounts. The hack by a Chinese group that the company said was intent on conducting espionage and went undetected. Folks, our country has been subverted by not just a foreign entity, that being China, but a domestic enemy, that being those that are owned and operated by the cult. The cult owns China. That's their lab, their technocracy lab. And they own this administration. And I believe the vast majority of people in the Beltway, in Washington, D.C., in your state legislatures, in your governor's houses, and in local political offices. So, what can you do? Well, number one, you don't sit on the couch, because that's what they want. Number two, you don't trust the plan, because that tells you to sit on the couch. You need to network this information of what's really going on that I just told you to your friends and family and loved ones, and workers and coworkers, and your neighbors, and people you might not even know. And they might doubt you. Send them this video. Have them research what I just presented. They will find 100% of it is backed up. And then you need to contact your local, and it's a loose term saying representatives, and state representatives, and federal representatives, and say, we're wise to what's going on. What relationship do you have with China? What relationship do you have with the criminal international banking syndicate? Because we're wise to it and we're watching you. And if you don't start doing things for us and undoing what you've done for them, well, there are a lot of us, and you can rig the machines any way you want, but there's so many of us, we'll make sure you lose in the primary because we're going to put somebody up who's honest to run against you. It scares the daylights out of them. They don't want you. People will tell you, oh, that doesn't matter. Oh, it does matter. I've seen it firsthand. They panic when the phone starts ringing and people start saying, we're wise to what you're up to. Change what you're doing. And if not, we're going to get somebody in the primary to beat you. It scares the daylights out of them. And that's not hopium. That's truth. But they want you to think, and their representatives want you to think, it doesn't matter. Just sit on the couch. Trust the plan. Everything's going to be fine. Things are not going to be fine if you don't get off the couch. See, that's one of the reasons why people get mad at me. You know, there are other platforms that tell you to trust the plan, that it's all going to work out, that there are things that are going to happen, that without anybody's involvement, that it's just magically going to happen. No, it's not. We're dealing with a political cancer here. Look, I worked on the front lines of healthcare delivery in 32 years. Cancer, whether it's political or, if you will, as a medical condition, doesn't magically just vamoose and go away. Steps have to be taken. And I don't mean, there are many ways to deal with cancer on a medical level, okay? It's not just one way. There are many, but action is the operative word. Not passivity and sitting on the couch and just doing nothing. That's not how you beat cancer, whether it's in somebody's body or whether it's in a political body. Action. Peaceful protesting. Educating, empowering others. Letting these scum who hold political offices at the local, state, and federal level, you know what's up, and you know what they have done, and they better undo it. And if they don't, you're going to find somebody, and your family, and your relatives, and your neighbors, and your entire town, and your entire city, and your entire state, in our entire country, you're going to find somebody that's going to do the right thing. It scares the hell out of them. Good. They should be. Because they've sold you and me and every American and every person of the world out, and freedom out, and our Constitution out. We have a means of winning this. but it involves action. I thank you for your time. We are available with tremendous amount more information, more in-depth information that I cannot go into on any social media platform at davejanda.com. I thank you for your time today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time.